Hello and welcome back to Getaway Day. As always, I'm Mike Trout. He's Shohei Ohtani. Hold on. Something's not right here. That feels wrong. I'm Mason. He's Gautham. And as always, we are here to talk about our favorite sport, your favorite sport, the favorite sport of everyone aged 35 to 82, baseball.
And we're actually doing our jobs, unlike Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're podcasting. It's Monday. Let's go.
Let's go. So I think we should address the elephant in the room here real quick. Why aren't you working, Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah, so that's a tough situation. He's been kind of battling the oblique injury for the last couple weeks. The Angels finally shut him down, put him on the injured list on, was it Saturday?
I think so, yeah.
And yeah, he'll be out for the rest of this season. And seems he's going to be getting his Tommy John or Tommy John-like surgery here coming up pretty soon so he can start the recovery process. We know it's going to be lengthy. And it's too bad because this was probably Shohei's finest offensive work that he's had at the major league level. Like, he's hands down winning the MVP without having played a single game since September 3rd. And a lot of that has to do with just the insane offensive production that he put up. He batted over 300 this year. He set a career high in home runs, I believe.
Yep.
Stole over 20 bases. Like, he was doing everything.
Not a career high. He had 46 in 2021.
Oh, okay. He was on his way to breaking that home run total, but all around amazing player, and that's not even to mention the pitching side of it.
Yeah, and the pitching side this year was, especially for the first half, awesome. Some of his best work on the mound. He did struggle a little bit with some injuries there with the blisters and everything kind of later on in early August, and then now obviously with the UCL partial tear, and now the what was it? What is it? Not abdominal.
Oh, oblique.
Oblique. There we go. Now with the oblique issue, like it kind of made it difficult for him down the stretch there. But even still, 3.14 ERA, a 4.0 FIP, 132 innings, striking out a ton of guys, not really giving up all that many home runs. Like, it was fairly, still kind of high, but like, this was some of Ohtani's best work. And so it's unfortunate to see it end this way, but we'll see him in the offseason getting a new deal with probably a new team. I can't imagine after the PR issue that they had with shutting him down, because that did not come out to the public in the way that it should have. It looked really, really, really bad, and I don't think it was. It just looked it to the public. I don't know that he'll be going back to
I was going to say, what odds
really
would you put it on him actually returning? I feel like the odds are higher now that he's actually injured. There's like a 0.1% chance that he goes back to the Angels.
I mean, honestly, I'd put it higher than that. I'd put it at like 10.
Okay.
There's like a realistic shot that he goes back. Like, he's got a lot of reasons to go back, but he has a lot more reasons to not go back.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Trout is there. Now, Trout has an out if he wants it. They've already said that if he asks for it, they will trade him. They're not going to if he doesn't want it, but they will listen to his request there. He was actively recruiting Shohei to come back. They really like the money that Shohei brings in just by existing. So I imagine that Perry could convince Artie Moreno to sign him back if he wanted. So it's a realistic thing that could happen. Not probable in the slightest. It's about the same as the Cleveland Guardians making the postseason. Like, it could happen. It won't. But it could.
So that's like 1% then, not 10, like you're saying.
Okay, maybe it's a little bit better than the Guardians making the postseason. Like the Guardians making the postseason like 3 weeks ago.
All right. Fine.
All right. Let's go ahead, and I don't want to run into the same situation we ran into last week. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is we have some clarity on a stadium issue that has been around since 2007. Finally. And that is in the city of St. Petersburg, Florida, home of Tropicana Field and the Tampa Bay Rays. They are expected to announce a new stadium deal tomorrow with the city of St. Pete to redevelop the area containing and surrounding the Trop into a mixed-use development with a brand new stadium and housing and shops. And they're basically going to try and build what every team is trying to build now to bring entertainment to an entertainment district there in the city. This is something that has been an ongoing thing for years. I mean, we've seen 2 or 3 different proposals fall through since 2007. The sister city proposal to have half their home games in Montreal that was shut down by the league. So this is big because this is one of the 2 things that needed to happen in order for Major League Baseball to expand to 32 teams. So now we have one team that doesn't know what they're going to do, and they supposedly still have a deal in Vegas, even though there's not been any update on that in a long time.
I think there was, right? They're going to have the vote this fall with the owners on the proposal to move to Vegas.
Oh, I didn't hear that. They still don't have an actual stadium proposal, though. So how are they going to vote on it?
There's a lot up in the air there, but on this Rays one, it's just another team that's following in the model of building up a whole entertainment type situation to go along with the ballpark. It's not just a ballpark anymore. I just hope that they have better lighting in the new ballpark, and because Tropicana Field is one of probably the least aesthetically pleasing ballpark to my eyes on TV. I've never been there in person. Like, maybe it's a great place to watch a baseball game.
I will say there is one stadium that rivals it, which is Chase Field.
Oh, from a lighting perspective?
Yeah, Chase Field is awful.
I can definitely see that on TV. I feel like Miller Park is also kind of dark.
Yeah, Miller Park isn't on the same level, though. But this stadium, though, is... think of it as the Trop 2.0. It's going to be a fixed roof, which it kind of makes sense in Tampa. You're never going to open the roof, so why spend $500 million to put in a retractable? So it's going to be a fixed roof, but the walls will be able to open similar to Miller Park, Chase Field, Lone Depot Park, I think, does that too, where you can make it a semi-outdoor environment. Turf Field, they're expecting it to be about $1.2 billion, and the Rays are going to cover at least half of that themselves, with the rest being some public funding from the city, from the county, probably the state of Florida as well. So this is actually a really, really big development after hearing about the proposal months ago, but not hearing any follow-up from it. The city did finally select this as the plan that they were going to move forward to redevelop that area. So
yeah, and it's kind of interesting. The Rays are probably in that small market team, and they're still willing to go spend $600 million on a new stadium because they know how profitable it's going to be in the long run. And it's in contrast to Milwaukee, who's also kind of coming up on their end of life of their lease, and in their proposal, they are trying to pay a lot less as a percentage of the cost of a new stadium than or like for renovations than the Rays are here.
Yeah. Which I actually really, really love this move from a couple different standpoints. One, it keeps Tampa in Tampa. That is first and foremost the biggest part of this. But I really think people underestimate the benefit to the game of baseball that having these big mixed-use developments are. Like, yeah, it's a cash cow for the owners. I hate that rich people are getting richer. But if you think about it, it brings people closer to the stadium on non-game days. it gets people coming to that area. People that just kind of want to hang out may just go, oh, the game started. Tickets might be cheap. Let's just go in and watch. And then they might hop on in, watch a game for a little bit, leave. And it does help generate more buzz around the sport. So I actually do kind of like that teams are doing this. I just wish that maybe it were not the richest people in America doing it and making more money and becoming the richerest people in America. That would be ideal for me, but
yeah, we
you
can't
can
have
wish in
everything,
one
but-
hand and
Yeah, and I think one of the other issues with Tropicana Field is it's very difficult to actually get to. Maybe this downtown stadium will be a lot easier.
well, it's on the
The
same
fact that
site. It's the same site.
Oh, it's the same site. That's,
Yeah,
okay,
it's
that's not
the
great.
86 area or 86 acres containing the trop and surrounding it. So
okay.
I assume that they're probably going to work on, because it's an entire area of the city. I imagine
Yeah.
that along with the redevelopment, they'll probably work on some more public transport and stuff to get there. Probably bus lines, maybe an extension of their rail system, but it will be the same site.
Yeah, and I guess like overarching, like I don't trust these teams. Like they're not out here with the primary focus of helping baseball or helping the community or anything like that. They are in this for the money. And
Yeah.
I'm sure this is a great deal for the Rays.
Oh, I'm sure. And you can kind of tell that they agree by saying, yeah, absolutely, we'll pay $600 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this is a team that doesn't spend money freely. So if they're willing to spend that, there's something in it for them. I'm assuming there's TIF districts. I am assuming that there's going to be like a whole bunch of tax rebates and all this stuff that they're getting. So, but back to the stuff that's happening on the field. The Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers have clinched division titles. They are the first two teams to do so. In addition to that, both the Orioles and the Rays have clinched postseason spots. So the bracket for the postseason is starting to take shape here. I didn't really have a whole lot on that. Do you have any thoughts on?
Just that, yeah, the Braves, I'm pretty sure the Braves are going to take the number 1 seed in the NL. Dodgers are going to have the number 2, which is interesting because most likely the Brewers are going to have the 3 seed, which gives them kind of a nicer path, I would say, because they get to face the last team in for the NL wildcard as the 6th seed at home. And then if they win that series, they'd play not the Braves.
Yeah.
So it's almost better to be the 3 seed than it's
Than
better
the
to be
2
like
seed.
the 3 and the 6 rather than the 4 or the 5 or yeah.
Obviously, being the number 1 is ideal here.
Yeah.
And Atlanta with the 5-game lead over the Dodgers, or 4.5-game lead over the Dodgers, kind of has that in the bag with only 11 to 12 games left, depending on which team you are.
Mm-hmm.
13 games actually for Atlanta and 14 games for the Dodgers. The Dodgers not have any off days the rest of the year?
They have 1 less off day. Basically.
All right, then.
They got a 4-game series in there. But I guess my question to you about these teams, they're basically not playing a real competitive like game. They don't have high stakes in any of the games that they're going to have for the rest of the season. Does that like matter? Does that affect anything for when they really have to ramp it up for a big playoff game after the first round?
Yes and no. It has affected teams in the past. You could definitely tell that. Teams that have a lot of off days, teams that they clinch real early, sometimes do struggle out the gate in the postseason. I kind of think these two teams are a little bit of a different breed.
I mean, you could make the case that the Braves have not played a
competitive
really
game
competitive
in like
game
3
in
months.
months.
Yeah.
They've been running away with this division, and it has not affected their performance. They're just continuing to dominate. So
Yeah,
I don't think it matters.
Which is kind of why I'm thinking it doesn't
People
matter.
just like to use that as kind of a scapegoat if a team gets bounced in the first round or whatever.
I think it might be a slightly more reasonable argument if you're talking about like the bullpen specifically. Because some of those guys pitch better in high leverage situations than not. And if the game really doesn't matter, is it really truly high leverage if you're only up by a run and trying to get the hold or the save?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough one to quantify that because they're professional athletes. Like they're gonna give their best effort.
Yeah, they want to win every day.
Games. Like, yeah, exactly.
Because ideally they go 162-0. But on the other side of things, the newest last place team in the major leagues, the Boston Red Sox, have fired Chaim Bloom. So,
yeah, I was shocked when this happened. Like, not like, okay, I wasn't 100% shocked because Chaim Bloom gets a lot of flack from people, but I'm still surprised that it actually happened this fast. He hasn't had that many years, and the Red Sox are not like the other last place teams. They're not exactly like the A's or the Royals or anything.
They're not truly in the cellar. They're on the first floor of the house.
They were competing for the postseason a few weeks ago. Like,
yeah, I mean, they just dropped below 500. Just did. They are 74-76. They could very realistically finish the season with a 500 record and be in last place, which is wild. Because that does not happen almost ever.
Yeah, I just think everything was stacked against Chaim Bloom from the start because
the cost-cutting measures that made him get rid of Mookie Betts.
Yeah, it's not like Chaim Bloom went out and said, today's a great day to trade Mookie Betts. That's exactly what I want to do. Like, he was clearly working under like the restrictions that were given to him by his leaders, and he executed a trade that could never really be successful. When you trade a superstar, you're never gonna win the trade. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah, and the guys that he got back at the time were prospects, a really young, good player who looked like he would be a budding superstar, in Alex Verdugo. Like, at the time, it looked better than it does now. And that's always going to be the case. But yeah, you give up a guy who just came off an MVP and is on a Hall of Fame track and a track to be one of the 5 greatest right fielders of all time behind guys like Babe Ruth, Stan Musial, other ones.
Yeah, I mean, it looks even worse now considering the season that Mookie's having this year.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, we could really use something like that on the Red Sox.
And then the fact that the Dodgers played them in Fenway was just kind of a reminder to the fans that, hey, we had this guy.
Right, yeah.
That probably didn't help.
I think Chaim Bloom has to get some credit for actually doing a lot of really good things in Boston, because when he took over, they had an absolutely barren farm system. Dave Dombrowski had just like ravaged it. He, that's like the Dombrowski style of just going all in and not really caring about the farm system and everything like that.
Trade lottery tickets for like cash, basically. Sure hand cash. So,
and there's actually promising players coming through the Red Sox system, and they're even making their debuts within this season, like a guy like Wilyer Abreu, who's playing center field and platooning with Ceddanne Rafaela. So those two guys.
You got Brian Bayo on the pitching side.
Yeah. And they have other promising young players like Tristan Casas. I don't know necessarily that he was a pick by Chaim Bloom, but I
think he was. He was a draft pick within the last 4 years.
Okay, yeah. So he had a fantastic rookie season, and he did actually lock up a superstar in Rafael Devers. Like, some credit goes to him for that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of weird. Like, I guess it's not weird to see Boston finally go, oh wait, maybe we should spend money. You would assume
we haven't seen
we
that,
don't
right?
know. We don't know that that's going to be the case, but that's my first thought. Is like, you fire the guy you got from the Rays that you told don't spend any money.
So he operated just like a Rays GM, and he did it kind of well.
Yeah,
I would say.
But they've not had like success on the field under him as far as like getting to the World Series and things. So it kind of feels like the ownership might be going, we tried it. It didn't work. We need to try something different, which what's different than cutting costs? I would hope that it would be, let's go spend some money and try and compete against teams like Tampa, like the Orioles, who are all of a sudden amazing, that are probably primed to go out and actually get a frontline starter this year. Now that they've got fans coming to games.
That's a different conversation, but I don't.
Yeah. I said primed. I didn't say they're going to do it.
Yeah,
Peter Angelo sucks. I get that.
Yeah, and the Red Sox are not the Red Sox of old, it seems, because they haven't spent the way they previously had historically. They were like top 3 spender in the league, and they're just not there, and they haven't been there in the Bloom era.
Yeah, they're around the Cardinals, which is like 15th or 10th to 15th, somewhere in that range.
10th to 11th or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's odd. I guess it's weird that's maybe they just don't have the same desire now that
now they've won in 2004, won in 2007, won in 2013, won in 2018.
Yeah, they've got all the rings. Like, what? They don't care anymore. I don't
There's
know.
Definitely not a curse of the Bambino anymore.
No.
I'm pretty sure that you could get one and the curse may still kind of be a thing. You could fluke one out, but you can't fluke out 4. So, All right. What do you say we move on to a couple of quick milestones and then move into wild card?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So milestones. We have our first pitcher of the season to reach 200 innings pitched. And that pitcher is Logan Webb of the San Francisco Giants, a guy who has been used and abused in a rotation of exactly 3 guys for the entirety of the season.
Do you think he's been abused?
I mean,
or he just goes deep into the starts.
Well, like he goes really deep into the starts, but my point is, like, they're just saying, hey, you get us wins on day 1 of the rotation, and then we might try and fight for the next 2 games, and then we're just going to go bullpen for the other 2.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, because way the Giants have made it through the season, and they're not even really winning his starts. I don't think he has many wins, if you want to tally those.
He is 10-12.
You're right. That's not super great.
Yeah.
But that's more on the Giants offense than anything. But yeah, Logan Webb, I know, do you have his page up right now?
Yes, I do.
How many innings did he have last year? I know he was very, very close to 200, but he did not reach it.
192.
And I know for sure that was one of his, that may have been his number 1 goal for the season, was to reach 200 innings, and he did it with a couple starts to go. He's
done it with 1 less start than he had last year.
Yeah.
So he pitched 32 starts last year for 192 1/3 innings so far, and he's going to have probably 2 more starts if they don't shut him down for the last turn through if they're out of it, which I don't know why they would. I don't have anyone else to throw. He's got 2 more turns through the rotation, and he's sitting at 201 innings through 31 games. So he's probably going to lead the league in innings unless something completely wild happens.
I think he's got a chance for 3 starts, because he's starting either tomorrow or Wednesday.
Oh, if he's starting in the next 2 days, yeah, he might be the final start of the season too.
Monday of the following week, and then probably the last day of the season. So
the biggest thing that I was looking at earlier when I heard that Logan Webb got to 200 is 200 is a rare feat in this day and age. It just doesn't really happen anymore. And so I was looking, who are the guys that are realistically going to be able to reach this? Gallen's at 192 2/3. He's got probably 2 starts left. Probably going to reach it. Garrett Cole at 192. Probably going to reach it. Framber Valdez at 188 2/3. Probably going to reach it. If he goes 6, if these guys go 6, and Chris Bassett at 185 2/3, those guys go 6 for their next 2 starts, they reach 200, that'd give us 5. After that, it starts getting a little bit difficult, because I think Sandy's shut down for the year, isn't he?
He's rehabbing. He's making his way back, but I don't know if he's going to return before the end of the season.
He's probably not getting 15 innings.
Probably not.
So he's out. Corbin Burns needs 15. Pablo Lopez needs 16. Mitch Keller needs 17. Michaelis needs 18. Like, we do have 12 guys at 180 innings right now. Last year, there were 8 guys that had 200 innings. So even in the course of 1 year, like, this has changed drastically. All those guys that I said are sitting right at 180. They'll be just shy of 200. Pretty much all of them were 200 inning guys last year, as well as Aaron Nola and where was the other one? Shane Bieber and Merrill Kelly were the other 3 that reached it last year. But last year we had 27 guys who eclipsed 180 innings. It's kind of the new 200 mark. So,
yeah, but I think starting pitching is actually slightly making a comeback, because in like 2019, 2021, I think those years, the average innings pitched per start was as low as it had ever been. Then it sort of made a comeback, and I feel like it's around the same level as it was last year.
So it's looking like this year is going to finish up pretty similar in numbers as far as 180 inning guys and 200 inning guys as 2021, which was kind of the bottom out period. So
Okay.
we're kind of in a weird transitional state where it's like, before it can go up, it has to bottom out, obviously. But like 2019, we had 15 guys at 200 innings, and another goes on to page 2 for guys over 180. So 2019 was pretty good for starting pitchers. We had 33 guys all at 180 or higher.
I thought that would be a bad year because that was like such a good year for offense. You would think there would be a lot of pitchers that didn't go as deep. This year has felt like a very difficult year for starting pitchers when you take into account all the injuries, and then seems like guys are getting blown up, and we don't have as many true ace type pitchers because no one is safe from these eruptions that keep happening all the time this year.
Yeah. All right. The other milestone we have, 200 hits. The first Miami Marlin to do it since D. Gordon. Oh, how I got Monkey's hair in my mouth. The first Marlin to do it since D. Gordon, Luis Arraez.
Yeah. And I got a trivia question for you about 200 hit guys. Can you name the active players that have had 200 hit seasons? As many as you can.
Okay, so Bo hasn't done it. He got really close.
He got really close twice.
Altuve.
Altuve's done it 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
How many guys are there? Just so I know.
8, not including Arraez.
What about it? Ronald?
Ronald did it just last week. He's at 201 hits.
All right. So that's 2. What about Trey Turner?
No Trey Turner.
No. Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts in 2016 with 214 hits. And
Freddie Freeman.
No Freddie Freeman.
Really?
Too many walks.
That's fair. Which means Joey Votto's going to be out.
No way.
Goldschmidt?
Nope.
Too many walks?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. There's going to be some obvious guys I'm missing here, right? Did Judge do it last year? Because he was like batting.
Judge did not do it.
He did not. I knew he was batting like 320 with 62 home runs, but I got Ronald, Altuve.
3 of the guys are like on the backsides of their career. One guy's retiring at the end of this year. Nope.
Miggy,
yes.
Carlos Santana.
Nope.
Okay. Jose Abreu.
Nope.
Really? Shoot.
It's pretty hard. It's a very impressive feat.
more guys at the back end of their careers.
These two guys have been leadoff men a lot, and those are types of guys that can reach 200 hits.
Charlie Blackmon.
Charlie Blackmon in 2017.
Kyle Schwarber, definitely.
Big contact guy.
Is he going to get 100 this year? I think he's at 100 already because I think he's got like 42 home runs, 45 singles, and 16 doubles. So I think he's already over 100.
I want to see him. I know he's probably not going to get to 50 homers now, but imagine a guy who hit 50 homers and did not hit 200.
Yeah, that'd be wild. Okay, so there's three more. Give me some hints.
There's three more. So one guy is like a bona fide superstar. We've actually talked about him in this episode. He's not an old guy.
This episode, okay. Logan Webb.
Logan Webb has 200 hits and 200 innings.
Perfect. Ohtani?
Nope.
Trout?
Nope.
The superstars that we talked about. We've talked about. I'm trying to think of what teams. Rafi Devers.
Yes.
Okay.
In 2019, 201 hits. And
what about
one guy's going to go ahead.
Xander Bogaerts?
Nope.
Or are we just at the old guys now?
Yeah, they're both older guys. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hints. Let's do this.
One guy just consistent, like 300 hitter. Actually, both these guys like consistent 300 hitters every year, basically. They both played most of their careers with one team, and then each different teams, and then now they're like finishing out their careers.
Evan Longoria.
No.
I thought that was a good one.
They're both AL players.
AL players.
They've both always been AL players.
Stanton didn't hit 200 in his MVP season, did he?
No.
Okay. Always been AL players. There's not going to be anybody on the Rays. Nobody on the Orioles. It's too young of a team. Brandon Belt is not.
It's a Blue Jay and an Astro.
It is a Blue Jay. Okay. Oh, Michael Brantley.
Michael Brantley, yes.
Okay, I actually thought I said him already. So
I don't think you did, but
I don't think I did. I probably just thought of his name and then moved on.
I got really confused
because I was thinking Springer and Brantley together.
Oh,
is it Springer for the other one?
It's not.
It's not Brandon Belt because you said he was an American League guy.
Yeah, it's an American League guy, and he's not like a huge player for this team, but he is like an everyday player for the Blue Jays.
Oh, Kevin Kiermaier.
No. Give up?
Oh, Schwarber hit his 45th home run.
Ooh.
Yes, I give up.
Whit Merrifield in 2016 or 2019.
Yeah, I should have thought of that.
He did really well though. You got 8 out of 9 guys.
All right. Only needed hints on like 3 of them, so I got like 6.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, that's kind of wild. So Luis Arraez now becomes what, the 9th?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and move into today's main topics, which is wildcards. So we talked about the NL wildcard at the end of last week, but we kind of rushed through it. So we're going to come back a little bit, talk about them for a bit, and then hit the American League wildcard pretty hard. So NL wildcard, I think the biggest thing between last week and this week is, and it was kind of already in process there, the Cubs, who seemed like they had a hold on the second wild card, have now faced Arizona 7 times in the last 11 days. And they have dropped 6 of those games to the Diamondbacks, vaulting the Diamondbacks into the second wild card spot. The Cubs are barely holding on, tied with Miami.
They're really not tied with Miami. They're behind Miami because they don't have the tiebreaker with them. And that's something that's key to remember with all these teams that are so closely bunched. The tiebreakers are really probably going to come into play. in both leagues, you would think, right? So like the Cubs are in a tough spot because they don't have a tiebreaker with any of the teams other than the Giants. Like the Reds have a tiebreaker over the Cubs, the Diamondbacks have one over the Cubs, the Marlins have one over the Cubs, so they would have to finish a game better than all those teams to actually make the playoffs over them. But yeah, I think this conversation starts with the Cubs because 10 games ago they were 4 games ahead of the third wild card, looking like they were in like really good shape. The division was in play. First wild card was in play too, and they've gone here and lost 8 out of the last 10 games to Arizona and Colorado, which is like the worst possible timing for this to happen. And the way it kind of happened was this team's really not hitting. Bullpen is very tired, and
something happened on Saturday where none of their gloves worked.
None of their gloves worked, and that was one of the most crazy games I've seen, I think, in extra innings, where the teams are basically just going back and forth, scoring like 1 run in each extra inning frame. And then I just have to describe that basically the last 2 plays of the game. Cubs were 1 strike away from winning the game with a runner on first and third. And the batter hits a ball straight back to the pitcher. It hits him, I don't know where, maybe his back or his arm or something.
Yeah, it looked like it hit him on the back.
It kind of goes up in the air towards the shortstop position. And Dansby Swanson just he must have just been thrown off by that whole situation. And he just was going to field it. He kind of hesitated to field it on a hop and then potentially throw the runner out at first. But he didn't really field it cleanly, and the run from third came in to score there. Then the very next batter hits a ball to right field. Evan Longoria is on second base, and he's running as fast as he can.
And Longo has wheels.
He's got big wheels, yeah. And he slides in with a pretty cool slide, like hand just gets in around the tag, and Diamondbacks took that game, and that was like, right in the Cubs' grasp, and just throughout that game, it was just like everything that's gone wrong with this team over the last couple of weeks here, where they would get the bases loaded. They had a bases loaded situation in that game, and that's your time to score some runs, and they ground into a double play. So yeah, okay, they got a run, but there goes the rally, and it's been that kind of situation for them. But the thing about the Cubs this season is they've had these really bad stretches. Like they've been very up and down all year long, and they've always seemed to recover. I just don't know necessarily that they have enough time to do it this time.
Yeah, I mean, they could still take it. I mean, they're still kind of in line for the spot. All they have to do is win more games than the other teams. They're good.
Make it sound so simple.
I mean, if you think about it, it's just math.
Just win the game. So how many games?
Math.
How many games are needed to win the NL wildcard? The number I think
you're talking like in the
to win the third wild card spot. I think you need 86 wins.
Let's see what do we have left? We've got
there's 12 games roughly left for 12. The Cubs. Yeah, and most teams have 12 right now.
Yeah, I'd say 86. I'd say if you win 2/3 of the rest of your games, you probably got it.
Yeah,
which would be about 86 for both Miami and the Cubs.
Sticking with the Cubs, they have a great opportunity to redeem themselves this week because they've got 6 games with the Pirates and the Rockies all at home. So before a difficult last week where they played the Braves and the Brewers on the road, they have 6 games that they should, they should win most of those games. They should win 4 or 5 at least.
Although based on what you just said, they didn't do very well with Colorado last week.
Yeah.
So
I thought we were going to start with the AL, but I was going to make the comparison to some of the teams that have played basically very streaky baseball in the last week or so, where the Blue Jays got swept in a 4-game series against the Rangers, and then they turned around and immediately swept a team. So what's stopping the Cubs from doing something like that? And it's against weaker opposition. Like, it can happen. This is baseball we're talking about.
Oh, 100%.
I know we've been dwelling on the Cubs here a little bit, but
well, you've been dwelling on the Cubs.
Yeah, I've been dwelling on the Cubs, I guess. Do you have anything else on the Cubs? But the other teams in the race are playing better baseball than the Cubs. That's pretty obvious, and I think they're definitely worth talking about here too.
I think the biggest thing that speaks to me is the fact that even the first spot in the wild card isn't necessarily a lock yet. Philly only has a 3.5 game lead, and they've not been playing the best baseball recently. They did just take a series against the Cardinals 2-1. But it was a series that could have very easily been a sweep for the Cardinals. It was kind of back and forth every game. And I don't know, it just seemed like the Phillies are not locked in right now. And with only a 3.5 game lead and 12 games left, they're likely to keep a spot, but it is a possibility that they fall out entirely, and Arizona, Miami, and Cincinnati take the 3 wildcard spots. Or, just for fun, let's say Miami, Cincinnati, and San Francisco get all 3.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So what's the path for San Francisco? Because I think they're like the team that we can just talk about most quickly, because they've got a 2-game series with Arizona, and those are the last head-to-head matchups between any of these contenders for the wild card in the NL that we're talking about. They're not playing each other at all. It's all scoreboard watching from here on out after these 2 games.
Well, I could tell you that San Francisco has no path. They play 7 against the Dodgers.
Yeah, and they've got the Padres in there too.
And 3 against the Padres, yeah.
but for the time being, they have to win both of those games against the Giants, I think, to have any real shot at anything.
We were talking about the Giants. Or were you? Or did you mean to say the Diamondbacks?
I meant to say, like, they're playing the Diamondbacks.
Yes,
they've got to beat them. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. They have to sweep the 2 games against Arizona, and probably if they can rattle off 6 straight wins against Arizona and the Dodgers, I'd say that they're going to be in the thick of it. They can do this even with 6 games at that point against the Padres and Dodgers. They do luck out, and they have home field advantage for the last 6 games of the year. So they'll be playing at home in front of their home fans. If they can still be playing for something, that's going to be a difficult environment to play in for opposing teams. So,
but we just talked about the Giants last week and how much of a struggle it's been for them in the last 3 months, really. I don't see it with this team. Like, over the weekend, they went and they lost 3 out of 4. They almost got swept by the Rockies. That's not a good sign.
Yeah.
It's Logan Webb and a bunch of other scrubs that are just trying to take up innings here. And I don't know, like, they're actually doing a good job with that. It's more the offense. Just
I don't have hope for them if they make it to the playoffs. Like, I realize that the playoffs are a different thing, and you only need a 4-man rotation most of the time. So, like, it makes it easier, but I really don't think this team has a whole lot of a shot in the playoffs no matter what. But making it there is going to be... that's their playoffs. If they can make it there, I would call this a success for them for this season and just move on. Forfeit out of the postseason, call it a day.
Yeah, I guess at what point, this is a little off tangent, but when does Farhan start getting some heat here for not putting together a playoff team? Or like he obviously did in 2021, but since then, it's been rough.
I could tell you from my experience in Oracle Park and the Coliseum when the Giants were playing both of those games, he's already getting it.
Yeah,
We haven't heard it out here, but fans are not happy with Farhan right now.
I think we've got to consider that this offseason, that not that it's going to happen, but we need to be like aware of the Giants. The Giants need to perform now. Like it's not.
Well, and like they haven't been performing, and they also haven't been able to seal the deal with the superstar to help get them there. Like they've been rumored on superstars for years, and they had a deal with Correa, and then it fell through.
Hey, that's one they dodged.
Yeah, agreed. They supposedly had a deal with Arson Judge. I don't know where they found Arson, but they definitely didn't get Aaron. So Farhan should 100% be on the hot seat here, and I have a feeling that he probably quietly is.
Yeah, I would agree.
And if they don't manage to do this year, like something needs to change in that organization, because they're not going to overtake the Dodgers just by happenstance for a long term. Like they did take the division 2 years ago.
2021, yeah.
Yeah. But that was kind of a fluke. And
that was like one of the most unlikely seasons to ever happen. Like it was awesome that it did, but it wasn't necessarily something that was sustainable, and that's what we're seeing the last 2 years.
Yeah, and then you have an up-and-coming Arizona team. You have a Padres team that's willing to spend money all the time. They're also the most unlucky team in the majors this year. So you would have to assume that some of that luck's going to swing back their way.
Wait, what do you mean they're most unlucky?
So I think the Padres have legitimately not won a post.
Oh, sorry, you're talking Padres.
Yes,
I thought you were talking about the Giants. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm just talking about the other opponents.
They're very unlucky. Yes.
So, yeah.
So, but Arizona though, they are a very interesting and up and coming team that seems to be clicking right now, as evidenced by their good play against the Cubs, and that outfield is extremely fast when they've got Jake McCarthy, Alek Thomas, and Corbin Carroll out running in the outfield. It's like a track team or something.
It's all guys that are reinventing the term video game speed.
Yeah.
Like all three of those guys probably break the speed mechanic in video games, and there's not a good way to actually represent them in the games.
Yeah. And just all around, they don't have, we'll get to the pitching in a second, but they help their pitchers so much with their, ability to go get balls and
in that
turn them into
massive
outs.
Ballpark.
Yeah, massive outfield that is covered by the fast guys, and then infielders, they've got really good players like Christian Walker. No one really knows this, but he's been pretty much the best defensive first baseman for like the last couple of years here.
Paul Goldschmidt too.
Yeah. Ketel Marte's been great.
Geraldo
Perdomo, and elite defender, and he doesn't hit that much, but guy can use his glove very well, and exciting. I really like the Diamondbacks. I hope they're one of the teams that makes it through if the Cubs don't.
And it seems like they also found their long-term catcher as well in Gabby Moreno.
Oh yeah, so, he's super impressive. The way he puts bat to ball, and also I didn't even mention him in the defense conversation, but he's been the best defensive catcher in the league this year, and he's a rookie.
Yeah, and he's got some speed too.
Yeah.
So for a catcher, at least, he's not Corbin Carroll. Alek Thomas. Yeah, he does. Yeah. But he's not Alek Thomas, Corbin Carroll, and Jake McCarthy. But you got to watch him. He's kind of a young JT.
That trade that they made with Toronto is looking fantastic. The season that Lourdes Gurriel has had, and then they've got their catcher for the next 6+ years. I mean, you gotta love that deal for them.
Yeah. All right, we got a little bit of time left, so we should talk a little bit about the American League side of this as well.
We forgot to talk about the Reds.
There's no need.
And the Marlins.
The Marlins are playing well recently, aren't they?
They're playing very well. Yeah, their offense is randomly doing well. Jazz Chisholm is hitting grand slams every day. That definitely
Royce
helps.
Lewis too.
Yeah, and those teams are like opposites sort of each other. Miami's got the good pitching. The Reds kind of got a good offense, but that's struggling. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can pick a favorite of those two teams.
I don't know. I hate Cincinnati. They're not going to do it. They're out. Miami did just drop a game to the Lol Mets.
And I think the Reds were up last I checked. They won against the Twins today. So,
ooh. All right. So Cincinnati now is in a virtual tie with the Cubs. They've played 2 more games. You said they have the tiebreaker, right?
They do.
So might be interesting. But yeah, no, Miami's going to be an interesting team. I think getting Sandy back and rehabbed is going to be their key. Like, he won't make a whole lot of starts the rest, or he might make one more the rest of the year. But if they can get him healthy and they do manage to win a wild card, that's going to be big for that team in the postseason. So, but the American League side, I think, in my opinion, is way crazier than the National League.
What?
And yeah, yeah.
I do not agree with that, but all right, let's hear it.
So there are. Tampa has a spot. They've already claimed a postseason spot, as have the Orioles. Neither one of them has won the division yet. However, the Orioles they're up by 3 games in the loss column. After that, you have Toronto, Texas, Seattle, and the Yankees, who still can win this. You have 3 other teams in Boston, Cleveland, Detroit, who are not technically out of it. However, they're virtually out of it. With numbers of 2 for Cleveland and Detroit, 5 for Boston, who's the new cellar dweller in the American League East. So this gives you 4 teams vying for 2 spots. And you could say the Yankees, being 6.5 out, are done and they can't do it. But I raise you the remaining schedules for all of these teams. So Tampa, even though they have a spot, and they're also the hottest team, the second hottest team, in the wild card races right now, they have 6 games against Toronto. They then have 3 against the Angels and 2 against Boston. So if they can take the majority of the games against Toronto, then Toronto moves down a peg. They also get closer to taking over that division. But Toronto has 6 games against Tampa and 6 games against the Yankees. So if they can't get it done against Tampa and they can't get it done against the Yankees, this gives the Yankees a path to making it. It's not likely. Do not get your hopes up, but they're not out of it. And the Yankees are 11-5 in September. They've been playing fairly well for the first time all season, it seems. And I know that everyone kind of has had this the Yankees are horrible, the Yankees are dead mindset this year. And I get it. But this is an entire division of teams that are above 500, or were up until a couple days ago. The Red Sox still can finish 500 in last place this year. That is not out of the question at all. So they're a good team that's still underperforming, and I think people forget that. So there is a world where this Yankees team can come back from 6.5 back. It is very slim.
No chance. I'm saying no chance. You said no chance to the Reds. I'm saying no chance to the Yankees.
That's fine. You can say no chance. And a lot of Yankees fans, like Rachel here in the chat, they don't want this to happen because they don't want Cashman to use it as an excuse that, see, we still made the postseason.
No, that's another one. This offseason with the Yankees, like, they have some big decisions to make.
They're going to keep Cashman.
Well, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about their baseball decisions to, like, what are they going to do with this team? There's so much up in the air. They have so many big contracts that they're still saddled with. And I don't see them going into next season with like 6 rookies starting for them. That's not the Yankees way.
Yeah. We'll see.
But
I don't know, but
let's talk about these real contenders, the more realistic contenders.
So the other contenders in this are Texas and Seattle. And basically this entire wild card race, all the teams are playing against each other. So there are 7 games between Texas and Seattle. Seattle is 1 game back of Texas for that third wild card spot as it sits today. Toronto only has a half game lead. So all of these games matter, including the games with the Yankees, whether you think the Yankees are going to do it or not. They're at a minimum in the spot to play spoiler and keep Toronto out. So they are important to this narrative, whether you think they have a shot to get in or not. But yeah, so Tampa plays Toronto for 6. Toronto plays Tampa and New York for 6. Texas plays Seattle for 7. And then Texas also gets 3 against the Angels. Seattle gets 3 against Oakland and 3 against Houston. And the Yankees get 3 against Arizona, 3 against Kansas City. So that should be a 3-game sweep to end the season for the Yankees. That's all I'm saying.
Why are you trying to get the Yankees to the playoffs?
Because I think it'd be funny if they just did it.
Okay, I'll admit, like, that would be kind of crazy and cool if they were able to pull that off.
No, it wouldn't be cool. It would just be funny because it should not happen.
Yeah, no, it should not happen. But I guess the one you just reading all the schedules, the one specifically that looks very challenging is Seattle's. They've got the 3 easy games with Oakland, but then they finish with Texas, Houston, Texas. So we got 6 games against the Rangers, who are, I would say, their biggest.
7 games against the Rangers.
Oh, it's 7. Okay.
The last 4 are all in Seattle to end the season.
Yeah, so that's big.
Honestly, I kind of feel like Texas and Seattle have a similar schedule coming out of it because, yeah, Boston isn't Houston, but Boston's not a bad team. They haven't been this entire year. Like, that's going to be a tough series. The series against the Angels.
That's easy. That's like their A series, essentially, at this point. Because the Angels are essentially a AAA team right now.
Yeah.
And the other one that you did mention was the AL East race, which is still going on. And Tampa has a legitimate chance to still win this division despite losing the series this weekend against the Orioles. That would be a great playoff series, by the way, because it was an awesome regular season series. In that last game on Sunday, the Rays actually had a lead going into the last inning, and Pete Fairbanks, who's been absolutely dominant, like kind of fell apart trying to pitch his second inning in that game through like 39 pitches. But the Orioles like had the win there. And I don't know, like it's important in the National League. It's basically sealed up that the Braves got the number 1 seed, but no one wants to play that first round if they can help it. So Tampa and Baltimore are going to be playing maybe till the final day of the season to see who actually wins that division.
Yeah, and I haven't actually looked at Baltimore's schedule to finish it out yet.
I haven't either.
Baltimore has... Oh, this is easy for Baltimore. So they've got 3 against Houston, which is tough. They're up 3-1 in the top of the 5th right now. Okay. But then they have 4 against Cleveland, 2 against Washington, and then 3 against Boston. So there's 5 games in the middle there that they should win. So, or it might be 4 against Boston. Hold on. Yeah, 4 against Boston because they play October 1st.
I wouldn't say that that's the easiest schedule.
It's not, but I think it's easier than it's
easier than Seattle,
than Tampa,
Toronto. Yeah.
So
it's probably the easiest of the contenders.
Yeah. So I do think it's the Orioles' division to lose. Plus, the Orioles have a 3-game lead in the loss column. And that's kind of key.
Yep.
So it may only show that they're only up by a game or a game and a half or whatever, but that's a relatively big lead this late in the season. So that series here this weekend potentially just sealed the division for Baltimore. Sorry, I just saw tiebreakers tab and I was curious. So actually, that brings up a good point. Who has the tiebreaker between the Orioles and the Rays? It is the Orioles, who have won the season series 8-5. So if it does come down to that, the Orioles have it. In fact, the Orioles have every tiebreaker, with the exception of the Rangers, who they've tied at 3-3, and the Astros. They're currently losing the season series 1-2, but they do have the 3 games remaining. So honestly, I think if the Orioles win the series against the Astros, it's sealed. That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah, but they're both great teams. The Rays will probably be favored to win most of their games too. So
yeah,
I'm not counting them out yet. They're
no,
playing. They're playing very well too.
I just think it's the head start thing for me. So,
and who do you think comes out of the wild card? I guess.
God.
Because if you had asked us this question a week ago, maybe we talked about it a week ago, we probably would have said different stuff than what we're going to say today. I can't even decide.
Seattle has really, really struggled this month. They're 5-11 so far this month. They've just not played well. They've not been able to hit. They've got 7 against Texas, 3 against Houston. It's a good team. It's a good young team. They could definitely turn it around and win at a minimum 2 of the 3 at Oakland. I kind of feel like the Texas and Seattle matchup is going to end up 4-3. I don't know who's going to win it.
But that's like super important. Those 7 games are going to be absolutely what decides this. It feels like.
Yeah. Now the question is, can Toronto win enough games in their 12 against the division rivals that are still playing for something?
Yeah. I see Toronto as struggling also. I feel like their bats have not been going super well. Like Kevin Gausman's kind of struggling. I think that they showed against the Rangers. They've got some issues.
Yeah,
I mean, they did turn it around, but
if you look at their monthly record here for the Blue Jays, it'll tell you one thing. It'll tell you they're 10-6 in September. They're playing well. Then you look at the schedule, and they took 2 of 3 against Colorado, 2 of 3 against Oakland.
They beat the bad
teams. And a sweep of Kansas City. So they beat the bad teams. Great. That's what? For 7-2 to start the month. And then they took a 4-game sweep from Texas, where they gave up 10 runs. They gave up 6. They gave up 10. They gave up 9.
Mm-hmm.
And even the games that they were winning against the bad teams, their pitching wasn't exactly on. They gave up 9 to Colorado. They gave up 8 to Colorado. They gave up 5 to Colorado. In Colorado, admittedly. Kind of a run-scoring environment. Okay. They gave up 5 to Oakland. They gave up 1 to Oakland. They gave up 5 to Oakland again in the Coliseum. Not exactly a big run-scoring environment or a big run-scoring team. They gave up 4 to Kansas City. And then they just got obliterated by Texas, giving up 10, giving up 6, giving up 10, giving up 9. So their pitching has really, really struggled this month, and their offense has been good against bad pitching and bad against good pitching. So they need to turn it around, and they need to turn it around fast. Mm-hmm. But it's not looking great. Like,
and we're saying that coming off a sweep where they actually won a series against Boston. So
yeah, against a good Boston team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
these things change fast. And
maybe they're on the upswing.
Yeah,
maybe this is the pendulum. But I do think that Texas and Seattle both have a slightly easier shot to it because they both have an easy 3-game series. Texas against the Angels, Seattle against Oakland.
I'm not going to say that Seattle's schedule is easy at all, playing Houston and Texas for all their games after the first 3.
Yeah, that's fair. But I would argue that having at least 3 games in there against a team like Oakland is maybe making it a little bit easier than Toronto going up for 6 against Tampa and 6 against the Yankees.
Sure.
So, like, it's not much of an edge, but it's a little bit of an edge. Just like
they really need to deliver on those 3 games and make sure they win them all.
Yeah.
Before the tough stretch. I think the team we haven't talked about at all here that I just wanted to mention is the Twins, because while these teams are battling it out for the 3rd wild card spot, they're going to almost surely play the Twins in the first round, and the Twins are just like coasting into the playoffs, playing some great baseball actually on both hitting and pitching. They've been one of the best teams in September. Royce Lewis is an absolute beast.
He hit another home run today.
Yes, he did. And Guy has been awesome when he's actually been healthy. This Twins team can pitch better than probably Texas and maybe Toronto. Like their starting rotation is frontline,
and it's a rotation that doesn't have like a true ace.
Yeah, but they're all like
number 2 and 3s.
Yeah,
which is wild.
Awesome, yeah. So they're like the team that's lurking right now and kind of going under the radar because of all this struggle that's happening in the wild card race and the AL East and everything. I really hope that the Twins can make some noise in October, which never happens.
Don't mind me as I pull up the Cardinal game in the background real quick because
the Cardinals are winning.
Yeah.
Bueno started.
3 outs. 3 outs away from me getting to do another major league milestone, although we're already kind of at time for the episode. But
that's exciting.
I'm going to watch that anyway. It's been a pain this year trying to see him get that. He only needed 5 wins this season to reach 200 career, and we're waiting until the last 2 weeks of the season to do it. That's just nuts. And he's got an 8 ERA this year. It's awful. He is a 6 ERA this month, and that's improving his season numbers.
Yeah. I mean, he's outdueling Freddie Peralta. Like he's coming back next year. You heard?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's bring him back. I'm in. So, but yeah. So I guess if I had to pick the order of the wild card, obviously, I think Tampa is a wild card team. I think they're just not. They're a great team. I think they're gonna finish 1 game back of the division. 1 game. It's going to be really close. It's going to come to the last day. I think they're going to finish 1 game back, take the first wild card spot. Okay. Easy one, taken care
of. It's so hard, right? How do you even pick?
Either Texas or Seattle is taking wild card spot number 2.
Because of all the head-to-heads, it doesn't make sense that both those teams would make it.
Correct. I'm going to go with Seattle is going to be the number 2 for one reason and one reason only. They have not blown more saves than they've converted.
What?
Pretty sure that's almost a thing for the Rangers. It's been bad. Yeah, it's been bad.
Amazing. Yeah.
So I'm going to give the edge to Seattle there. And I think they're going to get the number 2 spot by a game. And then I think Toronto is going to take care of the Yankees, especially at home. I think it's a 3-game sweep in the Rogers Center over the Yankees. And I think that they're going to win 2 games against Tampa and they'll win some of the games in Yankee Stadium, enough to get them just over the hump, just over Texas, into that third wild card spot. That's how I see the season playing out. What do you think?
I think I'm going, Rays. Mariner. No, I'm going to go Texas, actually. I can't pick.
See, it's not easy.
I am going to say that it's going to be the Mariners and then the Blue Jays, because I don't think both the Rangers and the Mariners can make it.
Now, we do need to add in the caveat that the Rangers are getting some help.
Yes.
They just today activated, today or tomorrow?
Today.
They just today activated Adolis Garcia to go back and continue playing right field for them. And Josh Young to go back and start manning third base again. Now, both guys coming off of injuries. How good are they going to be right out of the gate? Up in the air, we'll see. But those are two big additions to this team that has been struggling as of late. So, could help. I'm curious what you guys think this division is going to end up like. So, we'll go ahead and put out a tweet asking what order you think this wild card ends up finishing up at. So go ahead and respond to that and let us know your thoughts. We will be back here next week on Monday night, probably. Sorry for taking over Monday Night Football. Today's game's not all that intriguing to me, at least, so I don't feel too bad. But yeah, so we'll be back here next Monday. Thank you very much for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time. If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or YouTube to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Getaway Day Pod. If you enjoy card collecting, check out our sister YouTube channel at Getaway Day Cards.